Hi everyone, welcome to Strike. In today's video, we'll be having a quick look at the Nifty IT index or the IT sector broadly. I'll start with few scanners from where I actually noticed a few of things which I would like to share with you. Let's head to scanners first. So now since we are nearing the end of the month, I was just checking out seasonality for the next 30 days. And when enter today's date for next 30 days and backtest it for the last 10 years, then all these sectors are popping up in bullish. But when I'm changing it to bearish, then only one sector tops up, that is Nifty IT. This is what caught my attention, and I noticed that it has been negative out of 6 out of 10 years for this particular period. So let's jump to the section for Nifty IT and let's see the month by month seasonality itself. So this is the seasonality grid for the index itself. So what we can see here is March and April month are usually where it loses its ground. On the line graph, it's visible even better. So March and April have usually the bad average seasonality. This is because major of this companies come out with their earnings around this season, which is why there is high volatility around this time of the year. So let's just analyze this into further depth. So first, going to the chart itself. So we've seen weakness in the last few days. It looks like it has broken down a couple of important trend lines and moving averages. And for someone who is interested into patterns, it would also be looking like some kind of a head and shoulders pattern breakdown. Now, what you'll note when you zoom out, what you'll notice it is that it's still below the peak it made in the beginning of 2022, which is 4th Jan or whatsoever. So since then, it has not actually made a new high, this particular index. So we'll keep that date in mind when we run relative strength tests. And let's go to the setup chart. So on the daily, all the factors are already bearish, and on the weekly, if we see, so a few important observations are that weekly RMI had already given a bearish signal back on this candle, that the candle that started on 26th of Feb. And if we talk about the current candle, then you can see the Dow trend has turned down because it has made a lower low, as well as it has closed below the 20-week average. So on the weekly chart, there is certainly some weakness visible. And if we talk about the valuation front, so this is the strike valuation charts, and currently I'm looking at the PE ratio for IT index. This is a 1 year chart, and you can see that it had touched +2 standard deviation zones on the upside for the PE ratio and now trying to cool off. And even if we look at 5 year basis, then it has touched the +1 standard deviation and saw some weakness from there. Now, for people who are not that much into fundamentals, they can directly jump into the strike valuation setup and look at the uh, valuation along with the technical chart as well as indicators. So this is a 1 year chart. You can see it is at the it has pulled back from the +2 standard deviation zones. So similarly, if I shift to 5 year, then here what I can see is the standard deviation has the P ratio has touched the +1 standard deviation. That is the first overbought line, and now the weekly momentum seems to be losing. So these are the observation on the IT index. So I talked about a couple of dates, that is 3rd January. Let me check on the daily chart actually. So it made its highest level on 4th January, and the recent correction that we saw in the broad market began on 8th of February of this year. So these two dates will keep in our mind when we done relative strength scan. So you can see I've already selected sorry, I'll have to select again. So I'll go back to 2022 January 3rd, and then 2024 March, and the current date. Well, let the system calculate the returns from there on. So what so the list has just now refreshed. What you can see is if I scan for such a long period, then almost all the sectors are up and by a lot. The top sector is PSU Bank, followed by CPSC, PSC. But at the bottom of the list, the Nifty Media as well as the Nifty IT. So these are the only two sectors which are actually negative if we look at such a long period, which is almost more than 2 years. So since 2 years, this index is relatively underperforming the market. So in the same time period, Nifty index is up by 25%, but this index is down by 10%. So this is actually a underperformance by 35%. Even the internal stocks, you can see there is some variation, as in three stocks are actually positive from those levels, but major of the stocks are negative. Now, the second date that I told was this year's minor correction that started on 8th of February. So let's look from there on. So if we look at from 8th of February, then you can see I've already sorted on lower to higher. So first are the few broader indices like small cap and micro cap. But if we talk about sectors, then the most sector that fell the most was Nifty IT. So IT has given us multiple signs that first was the valuation front, that it's looking a bit extended. Secondly, seasonality has also seen that it's the bearish sector for next few days, and the relative strength both on the short term and the long term, uh, adds up to that. Now, what I'll do is I'll not go into individual stocks, but I'll just switch to scanners and we'll have a broader look Nifty IT scans on different scanners. So this is the Rohit scanner where we can see on the daily and weekly majority of the signals are already bearish or they are giving a new bearish signal in the current candle. And if I switch to the Dow Trend scanner, which basically scans the higher highs and higher lows, then what we can see is daily, weekly, almost all the stocks are trend is down, and you are also giving up to down reversal in current weekly. So there is signs of weakness all around this particular index, and now there are a few other scans that we can look at. So what I like to look at is which stocks are actually breaking below the key moving averages like the 20-week average. So if I select 20-week and the filter is below, let me select the Nifty IT index. Yeah. So these five stocks are already below the 20-week average. So 20-week average is this blue line that you are seeing, and even some of these stocks, if you try to draw trend lines, it will appear as broken. So this one is Coforge. Next is Infi. This one I think trend line is not yet broken. This is also a similar pattern and it has actually broken below 20-week few weeks back only. Here also I think a trend line will look like it's broken. Yeah. And the last one is taken. So you can see what kind of bearishness can take into play once you break 20-week average. Previous all falls have gotten bigger once they start sustaining below this average. So right now I'm just focusing on stocks which are breaking this. If I change the filter back to above, then I'll get the list which have not yet broken. So these stocks also we can study based on the structure. So that these were the basic insights I wanted to share. And if we look at the daily chart, let's try to get a bigger average like a 50-day. So then also there are many stocks that are already below this key average. So you can see the pace of the fall actually accelerating when stocks or indices break key levels. So yeah, that's pretty much it about today's video. So we just found out via seasonality that this one sector could be weak in the next few days, and based on relative strength, Also, we see that this index has been underperforming the market, and add to that, the valuation is also not so cheap with so many breakdowns visible in the underlying stocks. So this is just our observations on this, not any investment or trading advice. So for more such videos and analysis, stay tuned to Strike. Thank you. Like, share, and subscribe.